So here we are with Lena Dunham, whose new movie, Tiny Furniture, you not only wrote, directed, but star in. You put your mother, your sister in it, you shot it in your Tribeca loft, and somehow this film, which doesn't have a cop in it, it doesn't have a pole dance in it, it doesn't have, I think, any guns in it.
Not one gun.
It won the South by Southwest Festival Best Narrative Feature Award? How did that happen?
I don't know. Honestly, it's as big a mystery to me as it is to you. I mean, admittedly, South by Southwest is a place where you don't have to have a gun or a pole dance to get your movie seen, which is an amazing thing. It's an even playing field in that way, but yeah, it was that was amazing. We made the film for very little money. I made it with a number of close friends and did not know what to expect in terms of reception, and had a pretty remarkable experience premiering it, and have had an amazing year with it.
Well, it got picked up after South by Southwest by IFC.
It did.
And even better, Scott Rudin has seen it, and I understand you're adapting a book that he wants to make into a movie.
I am. I'm adapting a young adult novel called Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, which is a great book that I love and which I'm really, really excited to be involved with.
Now, Dash and Lily are not Dashiell Hammett and Lillian Hellman?
That's just sort of a charming reference that a select few folks will get, but Dash and Lily are two teenagers living in Lower Manhattan over Christmas. Great.
And even more importantly than writing a script for a movie, you're developing a TV series for HBO in which you once again will star, as well as cast the other two leads. It's about three girlfriends?
It's about three girlfriends, post-collegiate girlfriends in New York City, and some of their trials and tribulations. And so I've cast two wonderful actresses who I'm really lucky to be working with, and we start shooting in less than 2 weeks.
And what's it called?
It's actually, as yet, it's the Untitled Lena Dunham Project, but I believe we'll have a name to share with the world soon.
And you're 24 years old or 25?
I'm 24.
So is this a little too much for you? Should we be letting you lie down and do this interview and act as your therapist to how you cope with everything? I mean...
I love what I do, and I love working, and so I feel really lucky, and I feel like right now, especially when I'm really lucky right now, besides my family who I live with and adore, I don't have children, and I don't have a husband, and so it's a time when I can really focus on work in a way that's, a little selfish, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Why is your movie called Tiny Furniture?
There's a really literal meaning, which is that my mom made a film. My mom is in the film, and she makes work that depicts miniatures, and sort of, I'd say her work, if I needed to impose some kind of thematic stuff on it, is sort of about kind of explorations of traditional feminine archetypes, and she uses dollhouse furniture as one way of doing that, and so that was my inspiration for titling the movie. And then I found a lot of different kinds of metaphorical ways to discuss it, but ultimately it's really a pleasure for me to kind of put the title out in the world and let people work with it as they will.
Well, this is not a documentary though, Lena. This is fiction film.
It is.
So is your mother really a photographer who uses doll furniture?
She is. But
and you're really a college graduate who spent the summer at school and then came home to live at home?
I didn't spend the summer at school. I made that up.
Okay.
But no, I came back to New York immediately. But there's autobiographical stuff, and then there's stuff that's a departure, and it's really, I think that's the case with the work of a lot of writer-directors. But because I chose to have my mom and sister acting in it, and chose to shoot it in my own house, some of that's called into sharper relief than it might be in somebody else's work.
And why did your father say no?
Well, I didn't really ask him because I know that he wouldn't want to do it. So it's sort of like I don't even need to ask him and have him say no, because I know he'd say no anyway. But also, it wasn't like, for me, I was interested in sort of exploring these female relationships without the presence of a man, sort of like this lady-centric environment, and the impact these characters have on each other without a guy sort of defining the course of their interactions.
What about the idea that you really put your mother and your sister in this movie so you could tell them what to do and get the child's revenge on a sibling and a parent?
That's a totally valid read. For me, I like to think it's because I find them beautiful and inspiring and exciting to look at, but you know what, someone asked me if the male characters were revenge on people who had wronged me, and I said no, but there's an element of catharsis in everything that I think that, an artist makes, and so for me, having my mom and sister was a pleasure, but there was also, an element of excitement about being able to talk to them in that way, and, keep them on course.
I need you to I need you to do that take again, Mom. You weren't quite animated enough.
Real? Oh yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
My little sister just took off. She was right here, but
Oh, okay. Now, one of the things, too, your name is Lena with 4 letters, and your character is Aura with 4 letters, A-U-R-A. Why did you name her Aura? Do you believe in seeing auras? I mean, do I have one right now?
I wasn't even thinking about I can't see yours. I wasn't even thinking about it. I know a woman named Aura, and I thought it was a beautiful name, and I'm always sort of looking for names. Whenever I name characters that I'm playing, I'm always sort of looking for names that exist in the same kind of genre as my name, and not that Aura and Lena have anything alike, except that they are 2 just 4-letter names that end in A that I felt kind of had some resemblance to each other. So
Okay. And one of the surprising things is the way she lies in the movie.
she does tell some lies.
She
doesn't
really, I mean, this idea, we developed that she sweats at night, and then the first thing, this creepy guy that she lets come in, the comedy writer was looking for movie deals. I mean, I thought he was creepy because he was creepy.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah, but, and he says, well, I don't want to sleep with girls in the same bed because they sweat a lot. And she goes, I don't sleep a lot. I don't sweat. And then your mother says, who was here while I was gone? I slept in your bed. And she, she's so
The
quick with her
sweating
lies.
thing I don't consider a lie because she may just not be aware of it. I think that might be self-delusion, which is different than lying.
Okay.
Lying to her mother is, it's very naughty to lie to your mother. You shouldn't do it, but it felt like a depiction of something real that I've seen happen, and sort of, a child getting caught and scrambling and not necessarily making the most mature choice about how to handle it because they weren't making the most mature choice in the first place. So she does do some things that aren't particularly redeeming, but I also hope that might resonate with people who've been in her position.
She's a college grad, and I will say this, I hope it's not a huge spoiler for the movie, but she does actually get to have sex at one point.
She does.
And it's
She does.
not safe sex.
Nope.
She says, you don't have AIDS, and he says no. And, there is a movie out.
That's the best kind of protection there is. No.
There is a movie out called For Colored Girls where that's one of the big issues, that the guy gives HIV to
I
the
want to
wife.
see For Colored Girls, although I wondered if I was allowed to or if it was only for colored girls.
Because of the title. When did you find out you were funny, and when did you decide you were going to make a living by being funny?
I mean, I don't think I ever found out. No one ever informed me, and sometimes I'm still not sure, so I only feel funny sometimes on very rare occasions. And in terms of making I knew I wanted to make a living making movies, and I didn't necessarily think of myself as a comedian. I did some stand-up comedy stuff in high school. Like, I went to stand-up comedy school. It was always an interest of mine.
High school was in Brooklyn,
I went to St. Anne's in Brooklyn.
which is where they have the theater.
They do. It's St. Anne's is amazing because the school is really creative, and they have a playwriting program and a poetry program, so I was constantly sort of being encouraged to write and express myself in a way that's unusual for a child of high school age to be encouraged to express themselves.
And your parents were fine with this too? Do whatever you want?
I mean, my parents were like, do whatever you want as long as you can live with us, but you have to have a job. And so I always, until I made this movie, I was a babysitter, I worked in a clothing store, I worked in a restaurant. Like, my parents just, they didn't encourage any kind of loafing, but they encouraged active work and engagement. But my parents are both artists, so they understand the compulsion to do something like this professionally, for sure.
When you worked in a restaurant, was it as a day hostess, the way poor Aura is?
I was a day hostess and a night hostess, and I was not very good at it.
Because you would let people in without reservations?
I had no reservations about letting absolutely anyone in. No, I think I just wasn't very engaged, and I also had trouble, like, being a hostess involves being, like, a little bit slick and, like, a little bit charming and, like, wanting to get guys to buy you drinks, and I just don't have any of those inborn skills, so
How do you think this is really what we'd call a chick flick? And that's what your real skill is, talking about what women go through in this society, whether it's because of gender or education or expectations or parental ties?
I mean, I think that's one of the things that I want to talk about, and I think that's something, but I also think that's a box that female filmmakers are put into, sort of the idea that they're, I mean, I don't have a problem with it because it's an honor for me to be able to tell stories that feel like realistic depictions of women I would know, but at the same time, there's a lot of stories I want to tell that have active male participants, and I have a lot of love and sympathy for male characters too. And in terms of this being a chick flick, I sort of thought it was more of a chick flick before I started showing it to people, and I've had, kind of amazing responses from people of all different ages and all different genders, which has been surprising and interesting.